One of the most common issues while troubleshooting flapping peers is seen as when we have mismatch of MTUs. Mismatch of MTUs does not prevent the BGP session from coming up, but they can definitely cause the BGP session to flap at regular time intervals. Consider this topology where you have IBGP peering between R1 and R4 between the loopbacks. The MTU on R1 and R4 is set to 9216 bytes. But within the path between R2 and R3, you have the physical interface MTU set to 1500, whereas you have your routing via SVI interfaces, your VLAN interfaces, and those MTUs are set to 9216 bytes. Your BGP connection might come up and it might remain stable for the time. But as soon as the number of prefixes that are being exchanged over the BGP connection increases, your BGP session will start to flap every 3 minutes. And if you're seeing your BGP session flapping every 3 minutes, that means you have MTU problems in your path. How you can fix that? Well, before even we go to the fixing part, let's understand how this actually works. Whenever you have your MTU problems and your BGP session is flapping every 3 minutes, you will see a notification message of hold timer expiry. What this means is the keep alive message did not go through. When you have BGP established and you are exchanging routes, when the update message is sent, the update message is actually treated as the keep alive message. The router does not send a separate keep alive message when exchanging updates between the BGP peers. What happens is when the updates are processed, the number of prefixes are actually packaged to the maximum segment size that is negotiated between the two BGP peers. The maximum segment size is configured or is based on the MTU value between the peers and subtracting IP header and TCP header, which is 20 bytes for IP header and 20 bytes for TCP header. That comes down to, say, for if your MTU is 1500 bytes, your IP header is 20 bytes and 20 bytes for TCP header, your MSS value will be 1460 bytes. If the number of prefixes that are packaged are equal to the maximum segment size, and if that packet is not able to make throughout the path between the source and the destination, the BGP peering will flap. The reason for that is the BGP peers, when they exchange the update packets, they are sent with the DF bit set. The DF bit set prevents the router to not fragment those packets and send the packet back towards the source who initiated that packet. And this is why every 3 minutes or every few minutes, based on your hold timer expiry value, you will see a notification sent by the other side saying hold timer expire. Well, you might question, how about the keep alives? Well, when you are exchanging updates, BGP does not send specific keep alive message. Those update packets are treated as keep alive messages. And thus, the other side is assuming for a keep alive, it neither received a keep alive and it neither received an update because the packet was dropped in the path due to the DF bit set. And the source is not sending a keep alive because it sent an update and it's assuming that I have sent an update, I don't need to send a keep alive to ensure that the connection remains up. This scenario will actually cause the BGP session to flap based on the hold timer expiry. And one quick way to actually verify that your MTU is fine throughout the path is performing a ping test with the DF bit set of the size of the interface MTU that you have configured on your router. So if your MTU size is configured to be 9216 bytes, you will initiate a ping with size 9216 and DF bit set between the source and the destination. If the ping goes through with the DF bit set and the size of the MTU, that means your MTU is fine. But if the ping does not go through, that means you need to verify your path with the correct MTU configuration on all the hops. It might be possible that one of the hops might have been misconfigured or missed to configure with the correct MTU value. To overcome the problems of MTU issues, you can actually use Path MTU Discovery feature. The Path MTU Discovery feature can be enabled on the router using the command IP TCP Path MTU Discovery. Let me show how you can configure the path MTU discovery, and let me also show you how you can verify what is the MSS value. So when you're on the router, what you can do is on the iOS device, you can look at show BGP IPv4 unicast neighbor and the neighbor IP 192.168.2.2. If you scroll down to the very end, you will notice that there's datagrams and maximum data segment. This is the MSS negotiated value. And if you see here, it is 1460 bytes, means the interface MTU is configured to 1500 bytes, and it has subtracted the IP and the TCP header out of it. This is how the MSS is negotiated. You should always ensure what your MSS negotiation is and ensure that this MSS value is same on both the sides. If your path MTU discovery is disabled, it might not be able to negotiate the correct value. And how do you enable the path MTU discovery? You go into the config mode and say IP TCP path MTU discovery. That's it. And you can try to reestablish or reset the BGP connection, and when the new connection is formed, it will take into consideration the path MTU discovery, and based on the lowest MTU throughout the path, it will negotiate the MSS value. On iOS XR platforms, you can actually enable the path MTU discovery using the command TCP path MTU discovery. There's a bit difference between iOS and the iOS XR CLI, but you can use the same CLI as you used in Cisco iOS devices on Nexus OS device. So you can go into the config mode and say IP TCP path MTU discovery, and this will take care of enabling path MTU discovery on Nexus and iOS devices.